Hi there, I'm Drew Badger, the world's #1 English fluency guide, and it is a pleasure to welcome you to another advanced listening practice lesson. I believe this is episode 30. I can't believe we got to 30 in this, and hopefully we'll go to 5,000 more. We'll see how people enjoy the series, but I really have been enjoying making it. Now, for people that have been asking about subtitles are coming, and transcripts, that kind of thing. We will be having those available, but we're just waiting until we update everything on the EnglishAnyone.com website. So we will have all of that available, and you will be able to go back and watch all of the videos in this series with subtitles. So I'm very excited about that. But please be patient. Do enjoy this series, and just try to listen to things. If your level is not that good, again, like I always say, go back and watch some of the previous videos in this series, or not. Again, I always say that. I make a mistake and say that, but not in this series, but in other videos that we have that focus on particular things like grammar or idioms or something like that. So some of the other older videos we have where either we do have subtitles or we have transcripts available. Or it's just an easier topic where I'm speaking much more slowly. So in this series, I speak much more quickly at native or faster than native speed, and that way I can have you just listen to my words, and hopefully you're learning new things by context or within the context of this video. So I will be teaching a couple of new words and phrases as they come up in the conversation or as I'm speaking about them. But anyway, if you're ready for this video, let's begin. Well, I just had a little bit of time today, so I thought I would make another video because I really do enjoy making this series. I can just sit down in front of the camera and have some fun and talk about whatever I'm thinking about. So usually things that are, I try to find connections between different things that maybe other people don't really see. And so if I can use those to help you learn better, I'm very excited about that. Anyway, today I just got home from it was kind of like a business kind of lunch thing. So living in Nagasaki, I have gotten lucky to know, a couple of people in government and local businesses, that kind of thing. And so it was really great to be invited out to this group, a get-together. A get-together is the noun form of just a meeting of people. So you can say that people got together, that's the verb form, or you can call it a get-together. And anyway, so it was a local kind of business thing, and a kind of high-level guy in the Japanese government was there as well. So he used to work here in Nagasaki, but now he's living and working in Tokyo, so he has an even higher position. So it was really great to have a chance to talk with him. But so all of this was in Japanese, and his English is actually quite good, but we spent most of the time talking in Japanese because nobody else at the table could speak English, or at least not very well. But what we did end up talking about was the education system in Japan, and we were talking about kind of marketing and business things as well, because I'd like to make Nagasaki kind of a cooler place. It's really not like, it's kind of known for its history. We've got a lot of old churches because Nagasaki was kind of the gateway to the West many years ago, or really the gateway to kind of the outside world in general. So back when Japan was closed off, it was only open just this one little port here in Nagasaki. So that's where all the foreigners came, and lots of people from other places in Japan. So Japanese people came to Nagasaki to learn various things. So we were talking about that, lots of interesting discussions, and all in Japanese. And it was actually great for me just to sit there and, have a confident conversation in Japanese about all this interesting stuff. And I was really passionate about, how can we make Nagasaki better, and how can maybe we have like some international schools or something like that. Now I didn't want to, push too much on this guy because obviously he has lots of people from the local community saying, hey, can you build this bridge or fix this road or whatever, that kind of thing. But anyway, kind of like the thing I want to talk about, I'm just kind of like warming up to what I want to talk about in this video. But in the conversation itself, it was interesting. I was kind of paying attention to my words and noticing like I was using quite a few advanced words in Japanese, but I wasn't like, when I talk about fluency, I'm talking about how I'm speaking like this. And I was able to just continue speaking, and I was able to explain some things that maybe I couldn't explain exactly using different language. And that's one of the ways that I talk about actually being able to communicate fluently. So fluency doesn't mean knowing all the words or knowing even like a huge amount of vocabulary, even though that's really nice if you can express yourself in a very specific language that's perfect for the situation. If you can do that, that's great. But even if you know a lot of words, it doesn't mean you can speak fluently. Fluently means that you can communicate as I'm doing right now. So maybe I'm trying to take a moment to think about what I want to say, but I can express myself without having to take long, awkward pauses and say and really think about what I want to say. So I was able to do this in Japanese, and I had a really great time. So I'm just kind of like letting you know, when you're in a conversation like that, you don't have to worry about using a whole bunch of difficult words. Just take the vocabulary you do know and combine it in different ways to express what you want to express. But getting to what I really want to talk about in this video, on the way to the hotel where we were having lunch, I walked by a cram school. And it was actually called like cramming school. And so I wanted to talk about that in this video because it's such a big thing in Japan. And this guy, this government official, he was kind of talking to me like, why is it, do you think, that maybe Japanese people can't speak fluently, or they really even can't speak English very well at all? And I was saying, well, there's a couple of things. The most basic one is how they learn, and so they're preparing for tests rather than preparing for actual conversations. And he was like, yeah, that's probably true. And, we were talking about that because, again, he spent actually some time living in America, so his English is quite good. But another one of the reasons that Japanese people have a hard time is because of culturally, they don't want to make mistakes in front of other people. So you get people drinking in Japan as soon as like alcohol comes into the equation. This is another great, fantastic phrase I highly recommend you remember. When something comes into the equation, so if you think about an equation like a math problem, like 2 + 2 = 4, that's an equation or a problem. So when something comes into the equation, like the situation being the equation and alcohol being the thing that comes into that, then Japanese people tend to loosen up. Another great casual way of expressing being able to relax. So if you think about like a nut, or like a bolt or a screw that's really, really tight into something, it can't move very well, so it's very tight. But if you loosen it, it kind of loosens up and it can move a little bit. So like to loosen up your tie, that kind of thing after a hard day of work. Anyway, so there are a couple factors, a couple of reasons why Japanese people have a hard time struggling. And so we got talking about cram schools. And I actually, I took a picture on my phone. I showed him, it was called Cramming School. And I was saying, well, like, let's actually talk about cramming because it's a big popular thing out here in Japan. There are cram schools all over. These are called jukus, but this is just a cram school. And literally, to cram something means to take something like I have a bag like this and I'm going to put as much stuff as I can. I'm trying to pack as much information in that as possible. And I don't really care about the organization of it. I'm just kind of like, okay, we have all this stuff and I need to cram it into this bag over here. I'm really pushing it. That kind of thing. So when people go to a cram school, they're learning to like cram information into their head so that they can pass a test. Now, if you think about learning this way, like, yeah, it is helpful for a test, but the only reason it's helpful, number one, is because you can study for specific things for a specific test that's usually like 1 or 2 days, after you'll be studying for that thing. So all of these factors make cramming a very good idea for a specific test at a specific time. But if you actually want to learn how to speak confidently, cramming is a horrible idea. Now, just think about going on a vacation. If you want to like cram all of your packages or all of your clothes or things like that in a suitcase, they're going to get wrinkled up. You're not going to find what you want, and it's not going to be nice and neatly packed. So you don't want to cram things in. Maybe if you're like rushing outside of your house to go somewhere quickly, you would cram a bunch of things inside of a bag. But you actually don't want to do that when you're trying to learn. It's much better to take a few things and pack them nicely, in your suitcase or whatever, or into your head if you're trying to learn something, than it is to try to cram your head with as much information as possible. Now, this goes back to what I'm talking about from the actual conversation I had with these Japanese business guys today at lunch. And, I was, again, not using a whole bunch of things that I had crammed into my head. I had taken a few ideas and I was able to kind of mix and match them to make an interesting conversation and actually express myself fluently in Japanese. And so what I'd like you to think about is when you're learning things, like, don't spend your time trying to cram a whole bunch of information into your head. And when you do that, again, you're not going to remember it as well, and the information kind of gets messed up. So it doesn't stay in your long-term memory, and it's just not something that's really going to help you. Now, I remember actually, I don't know where I got this idea from, but I think I heard it, maybe it was in a book or I saw it in a video or something. But I was watching or learning, however I got the information, but this was an analogy of talking about prioritizing things in your life. Now, this teacher, it was a teacher, explaining something to a freshman class, and maybe if you know this story already, hopefully you might know what I'm talking about. Let me know in the comments below. But if not, it's a really great story anyway. So this teacher took just a regular jar, like a large, kind of jar like this, and he had some balls of different sizes next to that. So there were like some large balls that were this big, and this was like really important stuff in your life. And then like slightly smaller balls that were like maybe a little bit less important, and then like some gravel, and then some sand, and then some water. So basically things of different sizes that he was going to put into this jar. Now, when you think about what order to put those things in there, let's say I pour the water in first, and then I take like the sand and pour the sand in next, and then I try to take some unimportant things and I put those in. When I try to put in like the really important stuff won't fit. So if you take, you actually want to fit all of these things, or at least most of them, you start with the important things first. So you have your jar and you put the really big balls in first, and then when you put the smaller things in there, they kind of go in and find the space around these other things. So I thought that was a really good analogy for why you focus on the important things, and it works the same way with language learning. So again, the thing that I'd like to leave you with today is when you're trying to think about like learning languages, especially if you're a student and you're saying, Drew, like my teacher is making me study for this test and I have to cram and do that kind of thing. Like, yeah, I get it. It's okay. You have to cram for the test. Go ahead and do that. You have my permission to cram for some test. But when you try to think about like beyond school or beyond like whatever that TOEIC or TOEFL or any other test, from some famous test you have to take, I want you to be having that kind of second mind, the real mind, where you're thinking about how can I prepare myself to actually speak fluently. And the way to do that is, again, to kind of organize things where you're packing information instead of cramming information into your head. So instead of lots of things that you push in and you don't really end up having a great way of thinking about them after the fact, the best thing to do is to pack things nice and neatly into your mind. And these are things that you take time with. You're carefully packing them and carefully putting them in your mind, and only a few things. So again, you don't need a lot of information in order to express yourself confidently. You just need enough information that you can say what you want and then kind of take information or words or expressions and use that to talk about other things, because everything is connected. You just need a kind of like a base way of being able to express yourself. Anyway, I don't want to give you too much information, but if you have enjoyed this video, do like this video and share it with a bunch of people. Subscribe to the EnglishAnyone.com YouTube channel. And, let me know about kind of packing or cramming, what you think about these ideas in the comments below. I've enjoyed making this video, and now because I'm, having a nice day, I think I'm going to take a nap. I'm actually a little bit tired. I've got the house to myself right now. So to have something to myself means I'm the only one here. So no daughter, no anybody to relax, and I'm just gonna take a nap. Just enjoy a fairly nice day. It's been a nice day so far, and I'm happy to make this video for you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Anyway, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. To continue learning, click on the link in this video to download Speak English Naturally, our free guide to speaking and sounding like a native English speaker. The guide reveals the 3 most important kinds of conversational English you must learn if you want to sound native, and will help you experience instant improvement in your fluency and speaking confidence. To download your free guide on a mobile device, click on the link in the upper right of this video. To download your free guide from a computer, click on the link in the lower right of this video. I look forward to seeing you in the guide.